We also use some other systems, such as the National Land Grant Impact Reporting Database and your institutional website, so that we can get a little more detail sometimes than is provided in the reports. But it's very important for us to have those reports to rely on, so that we can share that information as the secretary is out traveling. Another way that we use your reports is in talking points. So if the director of NIFA, or if one of the undersecretaries or the secretary is going out to do a speech, and it's on a certain topic, we can go into the NIFA reporting system and find what kind of projects are we funding in that topic area, and what are some good impact details that they can share in a speech about those funding opportunities and the projects within that area. It helps us give a more holistic picture of what we're doing in a certain priority or a topic area, but it also gives us some examples that they can use of highly effective programs. So that's one of the ways that we use it. Another way we use it is if a Congress member is asking for information on a certain topic or a certain program, and they want to have some evidence of how the funding is being used and how effective it is with the projects that you do, we get that information from the NIFA reporting system. And the important thing about putting really good, strong stories in your reports in the NIFA reporting system is it prevents us from having to further burden you, the project directors, or your communication staff by having to call them with an urgent need for information. If you've provided us all the information that we need in the NIFA reporting system, we can just go out and gather that information and put all that together without having to make more data calls to you or urgent requests for information. And as a former land grant communicator myself for a very long time, I really appreciate how much stress that puts on you and on your staff when we have to make those calls. So we try to make them as seldom as possible, and we use all the assets we have available to us to be able to meet the needs of Congress, of leadership here within NIFA, and also within the Department of Agriculture, so that we can adequately provide all this information that we're asked to provide. But we also want to be able to use this information to promote the good work that you're doing. And so we will pull these ideas in and the information you provide in the NIFA reporting system. And so when we're promoting stories to media or through our social media channels and our blogs, we can pull out specific examples. And by proxy, that helps to highlight your organization and the work that the researchers are doing and the extension people are doing at your institution. So that's just a little glimpse of all the different ways we use it and why those are so important. I strongly encourage you to include your communicators in your process when you're writing those impact stories and your annual reports, so that it makes it easy for us to be able to grab that information and use it in a way that's very readable and very usable for us, but also for those that we're preparing these documents for. So I hope that's a little bit helpful for you to see all the different ways that we use this information. I promise you, it does not just sit there in the database. And I'm happy to answer any questions. If you all have questions about it, please let me know, and I'm happy to answer any questions for you.
Thank you so much, Faith. So I don't know if you can see the chat, or I can read questions to you from the chat.
Okay, so one of the questions, and I get this question a lot, is what is the difference between the NIFA impacts and the land grant impacts? Is it necessary to have both? Yes, it's necessary to have both. And Fortunately, I think I'm able to translate this story because I was also one of the creators of the Land Grant Impact Database. So I fully understand what the difference is. And so with the NIFA reporting system, it's a requirement of your grant to give us these reports back. But we also fund a lot of organizations that are not land grant universities. And likewise, land grant universities are funded by a lot of sources that are not NIFA. And so that's why we need the two separate systems so that we are fully gathering the information we need from all of our stakeholder base. And then the land grant impact database is important so that land grant universities are able to adequately demonstrate the impact that the land grant system is having with funding outside of NIFA. And so it's very important to have the two. We use them both right now, but Adam can fill you in, but I know that there's a plan down the road to try to link those two systems so that when you put your information in the NIFA reporting system, at least for those projects that are funded by NIFA, we are hoping to be able to move those impacts over so that all your inputters would have to do is check them for format, make sure that they transferred correctly, and then put them through the peer review process that's attached to the NIFA reporting system. But it would definitely cut out at least one step in there and make it easier for you all to be able to maintain both systems. It's very important for the land grant system to maintain their own database as well, because you want to not only be able to report that outside of NIFA funding, but also to have control of that database and how you use it and how you organize it so that it best serves your needs. So I hope that clears that up a little bit and explains why we have the two separate systems. How much do we rely on the annual reports versus mining NRS? So the annual reports are read within NIFA, and the folks who are reading and reviewing those are really good about sending us the ones that are really stellar. You know, this is an outstanding annual report that we can use. Or if they find a really interesting story in there that we know is a hot topic for us at the time, they'll always forward that to us. So, so we can use those. And we do go in and take a look at them, especially if we're asked a very broad question. What is going on in nutrition nationwide? We can look through the annual reports and find a lot of that information. But we do data mining within NRS as well. We don't do it ourselves. We leave that to the professionals who are our data analysts who can go in and pull analytics for us. And so that's a little bit different than looking for those good impact stories. Let's see. Oh, I'm glad that was a good explanation. I hope that made it clear for you. Do we look at the non-technical summaries? That's the first thing we look at. For those of you who've ever had to do a dossier, they'll always tell you that the summary is the most important part. And so we read those non-technical summaries first, because that gives us the best idea of, is this report going to have the information that we're looking for in it on the topic that we're looking for? So those non-technical summaries are really important. And those of you who do a great job on those non-technical summaries make it so easy for us, because we can just go in and pull out the information from the non-technical summary and be able to just edit that up or cut it down and streamline it to what we need for the nuggets of information that we're looking for. Any other questions? Let's see, will there be work done on the print button features of NRS? Now that's a question I don't know. That's a question for Adam. are the NIFA impacts in NRS. So right now it's a part of your reports that you put in. And what we do is we go in and find those and pull them out. And that's what we feature on the NIFA impact site, as it's one of the sources that we have for information that we feature on the NIFA impact site. Another source is your communication staffs send us your news, and we get some daily, we get some once a week. And sometimes if there's a particularly impactful story that they want to make sure that we're aware of, they will just send it directly to us. And so we put all those things together and find those good NIFA impact stories, and we feature them on the impact site. We feature them often on our homepage, and you'll also see them featured in our social media content and in the NIFA update. If you don't subscribe to NIFA update, I highly recommend that you go to the NIFA homepage, scroll down to the bottom, and you'll see a place there that you can sign up for NIFA update. It comes out every Wednesday afternoon. And that's where you'll see a lot of the impact stories from awards that will show up in that NIFA update. And that goes to nearly 90,000 people every Wednesday afternoon. What about the non-technical summaries for extension projects and programs? So what you're saying is that you're initiating some and you're putting in those non-technical summaries. And those are good for us to use because we'll often get questions about what is extension working on? What are they focused on? What big efforts are going on in extension right now? And so we know at a high level what some of the things are that you're working on. And just as an example, I will use the health initiative. So we knew about this initiative, and through those reports that you were giving us, and also we're going out and looking for them, we find what are the specific kinds of projects or programs that are going on under that big initiative. And so those are very important, as it won't necessarily have impact yet, but it's a good way for us to demonstrate what actions you're taking. And so it kind of helps us give a continuum. You saw a problem and you created an initiative or a focus on that problem. And then these are the steps you're taking. And then at some point down the road, we'll be able to go in and start to gather that impact from all those different actions that have been going on. But a lot of times people just want to know, well, what's going on? Because you don't want a lot of quiet time between we've identified this major issue and here's the impact. They like to see that connection in the middle of what are you doing along the way that will eventually get you to that big impact. Okay, so maybe part two of that question is whether you prefer us to initiate extension programs and projects at a lower level. I think that's a system-wide question. I can go and dig around. I'm a former news reporter, so I know how to go find that information, but that's probably a question for Adam as to what they want to see in the system. And I will, while Adam answers that question, I'll put the link for NIFA update in for you.
Oh, thanks for getting that link. Because I was just actually, yeah, not even sure what it was. Yeah, so my take on part two of that question is that our stance has always been that it's really up to you as to how granular you want to make your extension programs that you initiate in NRS. Yeah, I mean, so because, you know, before we made the changes to plan of work, the way that it used to be was so you didn't even initiate programs like you do now. And so everything was, you know, at like a higher level. And the term is escaping me right now. Oh, they were called planned programs is what they were called. So what many institutions are doing is, as they initiate an extension program, is they're just making like a one-to-one match. So when you initiate a program in NRS, you kind of think of it as, you know, the same as the old plan programs. And so still keeping at that level. But what NRS allows you to do, and to your question, is if you want to initiate more or more granular programs, you have the option to do that. But again, it's entirely up to you and kind of what works for your business processes, and keeping in mind, you know, the requirements for reporting on those. So I hope that's helpful to you. If not, we can follow up some more on that. Okay, were there more questions for you, Faith?
So there's a question here about, can they get examples of good NRS result submissions from different disciplines that are pure research, integrated research and extension, so they can use those to train faculty? I can give you some. I'm sure Adam can pull some as they come across them. And also in the next couple of months, we're going to be doing a lot of training. And in June, we'll be hosting a training in conjunction with the Association for Communication Excellence meeting, where we'll be doing a train the trainer with your communicators who sign up for that training, so that they will have handouts and activities and ways to be able to train for writing good reports and good impact stories. And then we will also be putting together a series of videos that will also be a great resource for you. You will already find some videos on the Land Grant Impact website, but we will also be developing some for the NIFA reporting system. I will pop in the chat information about that upcoming training in June. It's going to be in Kansas City on, I believe it's June the 11th. It's a Saturday. And so I will put it in the chat for you.
And just note, as you're putting it in the chat, Faith, there's a setting to make sure that it goes to everyone. Because I think it was by default set to go to only hosts and panelists. So I just reposted your link there. So everyone should be able to see that now.
Hey, are there any other questions while I look this link up for you about the impact training? Okay, I'm going to turn it back over to Adam, and I'm going to find that link for you and put it in the chat and make sure it goes to everyone.
All right. Thank you so much, Faith, for your presentation. I think that was really good information. I know that I learned some things as well. Okay, I was just scrolling back up in the chat. While we were here, I think I was going to answer one of the questions. Oh, it was about the print feature. So I don't know, I'm not familiar with specifically how that works, but to my mind, the way that it should work is that, you know, so for whatever report or form that you're working on in the system, that the PDF, that you should be able to view a PDF of it, and it shouldn't be in an image format. It should be in PDF format. And so you should be able to download and save those reports as a PDF. And then the PDF document is flexible, you know, in that you can, you know, send it and share it, you know, as a read-only document. You know, there's also features with, depending on what, you know, PDF program you have, that you can, make it, text readable and searchable, or even editable. So I will still, if that doesn't answer your question, I'm still going to make a note of that to follow back up on that later on and just make sure that the system is working that way, so that you should have access to, grab a PDF of any document. If you're still finding that you're having, an issue with that, definitely write to our NRS help desk support, and I'll have that email address up in the presentation if you don't have it. And that's true for everyone, for, of course, any issues that, if something's not working right in NRS, or you have suggestions of features or things, that you would like to see changed, please let us know at our NRS support. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and, so what I'm going to do is, I'm just looking at the last few questions that have come in. Okay. Okay, there's a question about, is this webinar different from the series that Alexis has been providing? No, it's not different. This is the same series. Alexis was just not, she's off today, so I am filling in. And also, I'm going to make a note of, like Faith had mentioned, so there was a suggestion on getting examples of reports. And so we can certainly pull those out of the system. I think that's a fine idea, to have those available so that you can use those for training. And so I'm going to make note of that. Okay, so I'm going to move on, and I'm going to share the presentation that I had up. And okay. So let me know if you can't see that, but I'm pretty sure you can. And so again, I think I mentioned this earlier, that so this is just some brief updates on what's going on with NRS, and it is short, so we don't have much to cover. Yeah, so conditional reapproval. So earlier this month, we did a release for NRS, making some improvements to the system. Some of it was just, user interface, small enhancements. But the one thing that I just wanted to point out, so we did send out an email, hopefully making you all aware of this, but just wanted to highlight it here today, is conditional reapproval. So what this means is, so currently in the system, for any project or program that's already active, you have the ability to edit that project or program. But the way it was working is that any little change that you made, it would get sent to us and require reapproval for any change that you made. And so any of you who have worked with Report know that in Report, that's not how it worked. It was a conditional approval. So you could change certain fields and those wouldn't require NIFA reapproval. And so we have now instituted that in NRS. So there are certain fields you can edit and you're fine, and it will automatically, your change goes into effect, no approval required. Others, those fields you make an edit, and then it will still require NIFA reapproval. And to show that, so I just took a screenshot here from the NRS user guide. This is for extension, but just using this as an example. The link there at the top, that is a clickable link that will take you to the guide on our webpage. And so you'll see that when you go to the section of the guide and it's listing out all the different fields for extension programs or for research projects, that it shows you the field, and then I've highlighted there in red that if it has an asterisk, that's going to be a field that will require NIFA reapproval if you make a change in that field. So you can go to the guide and look up, so if you're making any edits, this would be handy for you to look at and see that, okay, you're going to know if I make a change here, the process is going to take a little bit longer because it will require reapproval. Okay, some other points that we wanted to cover. So Alexis wanted me to tell you all that we're going to be reconvening the refreshed research and extension combined working groups soon. So I don't have dates on that, but just heads up that that's going to be happening soon. And we're also doing the same for the financial module working group. So if you are participating in those, again, just be aware, look for future communication from us that that's going to be coming together soon. And then just wanted to give you all a heads up on what are we looking at, coming down the pike in the future? What are we focusing on for, development? So we're going to be looking at developing the plan of work module and the financial reporting module. But we really don't have much to share on that because both are still really in the early stages of development. So we just don't have any details to report on that, but just wanted to give you the heads up that that's where we are looking into the future as we're developing more in NRS. And that is, like I said, it is short. That's all I had to cover today. So again, appreciate Faith coming in and sharing all that good information and giving us a little bit more substance for our webinar today. So I just want to leave you with these resources. So whenever you have any questions about using and working with NRS, a prime place you want to go is that NRS Support Page. It's on our website. That is a clickable link there. And there you'll find there's the user guide, of course, there's FAQs, you'll find the reporting schedule, and just a bunch of details on everything to do with NRS and a lot of good summaries about the work that we're doing with NRS. And then, like I mentioned earlier, if you have any questions, like you can't find an answer to what you're looking for on the support page or in the user guide, or if you have, you're having technical issues or you have any suggestions about, ways we can make the system better, always reach out to us at our customer support by email, which is nrs@usda.gov. So with that, I think I saw some hands raised. I think I saw some more questions in the chat. So give me a second here and I'm going to see if I can pull this up. Well, I saw someone raise their hand and now I can't find it. So I'm going to stop my share and see if that helps. Okay, well, I don't see the hand raised, but maybe you took it down, or if you raise it again, then I'll be able to see it. So I'm just going to look at any more questions in the chat. Okay, looks like there's quite a few. Let me find the beginning here. Okay. All right, so the first question is, will this apply to projects that the PI changed previously or only going forward? It should be only going forward. I'm a little bit guessing there, but I'm pretty sure that, so yeah, if you already have like a project that you made changes to and then submitted it before conditional approval was in place, then it would have just gone into like the requiring NIFA approval queue. So an NPL has to look at it and approve it. So I don't think it's retroactively going to go back and change that. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that that's how it's working. So I think it's only moving forward. Okay, the next, please share the members of the working group so we can communicate with them. Okay, I don't have that handy, but I will make a note of that and I'll communicate that to Alexis. How is the POW module not being ready going to impact our Q1 funding? Well, I don't think that, if we don't have it ready, I don't think it's going to impact your funding. We'll find a workaround. So I mean, you're still going to be able to do your reporting one way or another. So if it's not ready in time, then we have other mechanisms, whether through institutional profile or however we want to do it, where you'll still be able to do your reporting, and so there shouldn't be any impact in funding. For final reports on Mac entire stennis, do we just go into results and label it as a final report? So that's a really good question. Because right now, with the way your reports are set up in NRS, so now we're calling them results, right? So when you put in a result, there is no labeling of it, I mean, at least like officially, right? Like there was in report that designates that result as a final result or a final report. You're just submitting results. And so we are aware of this and we've talked about it, but I don't really have an answer for you as far as, I mean, so I guess to answer the question, I would assume that for right now, that when your project is over and you're submitting your final report or final result, that it would be appropriate to put language in there, sure, saying that it's the final one. And that's all you can do for now. And so so that's our issue to deal with, to figure out, are we going to have a mechanism to label those as finals, or how we're going to do that in the future. So just do that for now moving forward. And so we still have to resolve that. Next question, any updates on the plan of work timeline? So no, I don't have any updates right now. Ogfm supplemental forms, where to look up our allocations online, or when and to whom did Nifa send out 1088 forms? Yes, I don't think we're sending out 1088 forms. I don't think we've done that for a while. Please don't just say, ask your business office. Okay, I won't say that. I wasn't going to anyway. Okay, so I don't have an answer for you right now, but I know that I can get an answer on that, of where you can look up your allocations. So I will certainly make note of that, and I will follow back up with you. Do you have a deadline for plan of work or any changes? Can you make it so that chat is savable? Not easy to save these. Okay. Yeah, I don't know how to make it so that the chat is savable. I'll have to look into that. But I don't have any deadline or update for any changes to plan of work at this time. Again, sorry about that, but nothing firm right now with plan of work. So I did discuss the conditional reapproval. So I'll just do a quick summary of that again, is that conditional reapproval is now in place. So if you make an edit to an existing program or project, that if you have edited fields that do not require NIFA reapproval, then when you submit it, it will not require NIFA reapproval. If you edit certain fields that do, then when you submit it, it'll go to an MPL and they'll have to approve it. And you can, those fields are now indicated in the user guide with an asterisk. So you can go look up which ones will trigger approval. Okay, another recommendation about the chat. It'd be helpful to be able to copy and paste the chat box from the Zoom meeting to access the questions asked and links shared. Please restore that ability. Okay, all right, so I am noting that from, there's been a few of you now have said that, so we'll definitely, I think we can do that for future meetings, but I'll discuss that with Alexis, but I don't see a problem with that. Could you paste the NRS Support Page URL to the chat? Yeah, so that's a good question. Yeah, so I can paste it in there for sure. I was operating under the assumption that we share these slides, that we post them. I mean, so that's what we used to do with report webinars. but here, give me a second and I will, yeah, I'll grab that and I'll paste it in there. And okay, so I just pasted it in there. Give me a second while I refine my place in the chat questions. Okay. Okay, next question. Our faculty keep putting their Hatch project results in report, not NRS, despite us having a warning on site. When will it be turned off? We'll only do it in NRS. We had no results in NRS. Well, let me think through that for a second. Because, so there was a cutoff point where only certain projects should be in NRS. They were moved over to NRS, and then that's where you would do your results. And I'm trying to recall whether in report, yeah, you had the ability to still, you know, because the project is still in report at the same time, but whether, yeah, the ability, yeah, to submit progress reports or final reports was turned off, and I feel like it wasn't. And I apologize, my memory is just foggy on the details on that right now, but that's a good point. So my answer right now will be that, yeah, I'm just going to make note of your comment here, and we'll have to look into that and make sure that we get that reconciled. Yeah, because yeah, you basically, yeah, you want the reporting to happen in one system or the other. Oh, okay. The hand raising mystery is solved. It was someone raised their hand by accident. Okay, very good. Next question. Does the plan of work info mean we don't have a new system for it, or that there's still no due date for it? Well, no, so what we're saying there is that we don't have a new system for it in NRS. I mean, so we had built the institutional profile system to submit those, and I don't have any information on the due dates right now. I don't know if that is going to be shifted or adjusted, you know, depending on what's happening with development. So. But yeah, sorry, it's just, I'm just so, you know, vague and generic on it. But yeah, I just really don't have any information at this time. But either way, yeah, you're gonna have a way to be able to do, you know, the plan and to do that report. Okay, so we posted that one. Okay. So the question, is there just one OGFM form now? Yeah, that I'm not sure. So I know that, right, so there's always been the OGFM supplemental forms. And as I recall, that was 3 forms. And so my memory on the last time that we were talking about this internally was that, you know, so that we were still looking at, you know, would we basically keep it the same? So so don't hold me to this, but yeah, I mean, my memory is that we were, you know, we're always looking to streamline and simplify, right? You know, it's easier for us, it's easier for you. So I recall that we were having that discussion about, you know, and looking at just gathering requirements and having internal discussions about what we would be doing if we would be able to streamline that. And and I don't think we have yet come to any final conclusion. So all that said is basically saying, I don't know, sorry, but I think that gives you a little bit of information that, is we just haven't figured it out yet. It could stay the same. It could be, consolidated to some degree. Hold on a second, I'm following a link. Oh yeah, okay, so someone put in a link for asking if this is, the funding. Right, so a listing of the funding that went to each institution, per funding line. So that looks to me like, yes, so it is. Yep, and so it's the one that you put in there, it's FY21. Yeah, for extension Smith Lever. So for that specific one, that appears to be correct. Okay, next question. If you just send links out following the webinar, it would be helpful. Okay, noted. Okay, thanks, Faith, for doing that. Okay, thanks for clarifying, saying that we have been sharing the slides. Okay, more comments about saving the chat. Yeah, so it looks like, so what we can do is, in addition to sharing the slides, and I don't know if we've been doing this in the past, but sharing the chat, saving and sharing it. So that would be an option. Okay, more comments about the chat. Okay, and so there's just a couple more comments about OGFM supplemental forms. And people just sharing information about it. And again, so what I would need to do is, so I will note that as well as something to follow up on, to go and see where we're at with the OGFM supplemental forms. And it's been a while since I've looked at them. So what the original state of them was. Okay, so that's the end of the questions in the chat. So if anyone else had any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat or raise your hand. Okay, question is, how will you communicate the answer to the OGFM question since one is due Wednesday? You'll need an answer pretty soon. So we can communicate that through, we use the listserv. So I will make sure that we follow up on that quickly. Okay. You all are so helpful with your comments. Yeah, so thank you, Meredith, for saying that. Yeah, so apparently Alexis already sent out templates for the OGFM supplemental forms. And she sent instructions. So she sent that on May the 4th. So again, thank you all for providing that information. Here, I'm going to take a moment. Yeah, I'm going to look and see if that is also on the NRS support page. One moment. Yep, there, I just found it. There is on the NRS support page, there's a chart with reporting timelines. And so for the OGFM supplemental forms, should be submitted by email, it says, and they should be emailed to formulagrantforms@usda.gov. And then there's a link to click on and go to the form, and that it is due June 1st. And so I've already put the NRS support page link in the chat, so everyone should have access to that. So you can just follow that, and then you can click on the links to the form and where you need to send it. Okay, so yeah, then a note about for those, a place where you can look up the allocations for the different funding lines. So yes, we'll make note of that. Okay, any other questions? You're welcome, Norma. Thank you for your comments. Okay, it looks like, yeah, the questions are coming to a close. And we've been on for almost an hour, so it looks like we're at a good stopping point. So again, thank you everyone for attending. Thank you for your great questions. Thank you for your support in the chat, helping me answer some of these questions. Really appreciate it. And thank you again, Faith, so much for your time and your great information that you shared with everyone. I know it was very helpful. So with that, everyone have a great afternoon.